Are you curious about Shehulk Attorney at Law, the latest MCU series to drop on Disney+? Let me tell you a little about it. My spoiler-laden review will start at this time mark, so if you want you can skip ahead to there, or just note where to stop if you don't want spoilers right now. First though, I will provide you with the initial reaction. As a superhero show, it is serviceable. It's not like there has been much ground to break in a superhero origin story these days, but it does get the job done, especially when there's only a 30-minute episode to cover it. As the trailer already said, Jennifer Walters became a Hulk after being exposed to her cousin, the famous David Bruce Banner's blood. She goes through a training montage with her cousin Bruce, and he explains the need for stretchable undies. She then goes back to her lawyer life. The real time to shine as far as reviews will go will be next week when the meat of the premise of a tiny lawyer turning into an Amazonian is fully explored. But for now, this episode is fine for what it is. Before summarizing the show, I'll just add that the CGI was not good, but I'm so used to trash CGI that I just don't care anymore. Not to mention, there are those stories of how graphic artists are being treated behind the scenes, so I'm surprised that we get what we do at this point. Now, spoiler alert. We open to Jennifer practicing her law argument with her paralegal friend and also a fellow man lawyer giving her feedback. The paralegal friend is supportive, while the fellow man lawyer is giving supportive criticism. Just as they head out, Jennifer turns around to break the fourth wall to give us the skinny on her current situation. She crashed her car while her and Bruce were driving about. Both got cut, so when she pulled him out of the car, her blood got infected with his, and she became a Hulk. Short, simple, and to the point. She passes out from anger and eventually wakes up at night. She walks into a bar and goes into the bathroom. She's confused, battered, and crying, and a gaggle of girls come in to see a disheveled Jennifer and try to comfort her. Eventually, she walks out of the bar and waits for Bruce to pick her up. Some guys come out of the bar as well, claiming that, quote, "Ladies' night is such a bust," unquote, and they come over to Jennifer to holler at a girl. They attempt to flirt while being mildly creepy and following her when she begins to walk away. Her hulking out scares them until she's knocked down by something bigger. She wakes up on a room in a beach shack. She looks for her cousin Bruce, who is in an underground lab doing some work. He tells her that she shares the same genetic anomalies that he has that allows them to process gamma radiation and become Hulks. She doesn't like this, but what can she do aside from being put into a saw chamber that Bruce just had lying around? This forces her to transform through threat of disembowelment. What follows is a training montage where Bruce is trying to pass his past experiences onto her, but she seems to be adapting to this better than he did. It seems that, unlike him, she doesn't have a Hulk voice in her head trying to break out. Naturally, Bruce seems to be a little bit jealous of this, but Jennifer explains she's so good at controlling her emotions because she experiences so much sexism that she has to control her emotions so that she doesn't be called emotional. I figured it might also have something to do with her being a professionally good lawyer, meaning that she has to control her emotions in the courtroom, but she doesn't mention that. Afterwards, she decides that she has learned enough that she tries to leave in Bruce's Jeep. They get into a cousin brawl, as cousins do, only their Hulk forms mean that they cause a lot more damage than normal people do. They destroy Bruce's bar, and they make up by fixing it. Jennifer goes back to her work, and we are back to her doing her final argument. Some chick then bursts into the courtroom, and Jennifer She-Hulks in order to win the fight. We are promised more in the coming episodes. As I said, this is a serviceable origin story, maybe a 7 out of 10. For anyone worried about Jennifer being a better Hulk than Bruce, the show does make it clear that Bruce is the stronger of the two, although Jennifer does have a better handle on controlling the Hulk form. While it seems like it's explained away by her having to deal with sexism and having better anger management because of it, it is also said that Bruce has a voice in his head trying to break out. That sounds more like he needs professional help than anything. There are a couple of things that did bother me in this episode. First, Bruce is constantly talking about how Jennifer needs to accept that great power comes with great responsibility. I myself would have hulked out at this after the 5th time of him telling me. I get it, Bruce, just shut up. More annoying than this is the constant bringing up of Steve Rogers' virginity. It was about as funny as the car crash just before the car crash, and it definitely didn't deserve to have a whole post-credits scene devoted to it. Oh, and Jennifer sucks at driving. First, she crashes because she didn't see the giant spaceship in the road, and then she runs over her cousin. It's like they want to play up stereotypes in this show. They also didn't have alligator low-key, so I guess the episode really is just a 6 out of 10.